How do you tell everyone right? How do you explain something that people so I guess I'm claiming to understand. I think they as the theory of everything. And the only way to do that is to show through showing the evolution of something. So start off by saying I've done no formal training, insight, or in-depth knowingly plagiarizing, giving credit, saying what do you similar accent added. No, the only way you get better is more like likely we are to come up with a solution. There's no real way to do this without sounding like a stereo. Actually, wrote this the other part of joke. And no, in relatively inconvenient timing, but the plan was for this always to be announced as an alternative political party. So it is a relatively inconvenient timing that the whole Elon Musk announcement, but I don't think it affects the experiment in that it only offers a better opportunity to show success. But that's been the plan all along. But this is something that I wrote a couple days ago. Kind of give an overlay of my understanding. I'll read this and um, yeah. Hello, I'm Simple Sean, insignificant, a wave in the cosmos, waiting to become a particle. There's no way to craft this experience without sounding like a serial killer. Yet here we are. The breakdown. The discovery was made, the theory of everything. From that, a revision of government emerged. Government, political party took shape. Party and observer was required. Here we are. I'm declaring my run for president in 2028 with the DGF party. Don't give a fuck. Our action. A particle. Our campaign, stand-up comedy. Think Alan Watts experience crossed where they meet them where they are flawed. The singularity. 3 reaction choices. Follow along, chaos, preferred, known response, stability, measurable, no action, indifference, unknown, immeasurable, a wave. So, if you read that letter, there is a vision, a wave, energy coming from the brain, needing to be seen by other people, watching X or any other places that I exist. Once somebody sees me, I will then become a particle. This idea will then become a particle. This experiment will then become a particle. I guess that's not correct. So you seeing me, seeing the email or reading this makes a particle. The breakdown is the idea of what I want to happen, which is the action. And that turns me back into a particle, which I tell you campaign strategies. So then you receive the information back from the action. Now you are required send the reaction. Title of this article is No Action Without Reaction. So until singularity is when the experience happens. So like in a choose your own option, there are always 3 options. There are bipolar options. We feel like are the way we decide things, yes or no, black or white, for or against. In our current political climate, we call these the silent majority. We don't actually account for them. My picture that I use for describing why I have an understanding of the theory of everything is I think what we're saying is everything next system that we're aware of, which I think is more appropriately called existence. I'm not going to use the right term. I will try to use as consistently as possible and make sure that I define them using them. Scientists, or at least I am not what anybody in the science world would consider a scientist. I am a scientist by all accounts pre 1830, whatever it was that science needed to be measured rather than observed. All of this is observed, comes from an observation, not observer's job. Measure in the 3 phases, I believe, is what is said. I do want to say something. So, find this. Last time I did something wrong. Guy left me a comment. I don't know how to show it to me. He gave me a comment that let me. Brett Wine wrote the Hunter Gatherer book. Brother Eric is the mathematician with the work Progress Unified Field Theory. People claimed theory of everything when Eric was being careful. Call it that, as it wasn't finished yet. Eventually, on episode 16, he said that he thought it was theory of everything, mainly because everyone has called it work that theory yet. Uncompetitive. Appreciate it, dude. It. But I forgot. That guy. But he let me know that I was wrong. Horrible with names. Do my best. Corrections that you have for me, please let me know. And appreciate knowing when I'm wrong. So yeah, back to I am going to try to use as many of the terms that as I understand. YouTube trained. So if sound dumb to everybody that knows what I'm talking about and doesn't know what I'm talking about. So the theory that I have is all we are constantly moving in a direction of known or indifference is the two directions that we're moving. Those are on opposite planes. Maybe they're on the same plane, but chaos is going to be the unknown, where if you think about whenever something transfers from chaos to order or not chaos, the volume of stuff. So, for example, your desk, the the stuff that's on your desk that is chaotic, when you organize it, still exists. It just exists in a new place that you no longer have to think about, or you no longer have to predict, or no longer you know where it is. It's always there. It's known. And some of that stuff you want to throw away, and the stuff that you throw away is the indifference. Some of the stuff you would keep if you had a place for it, slightly more prone to have a positive connotation, or positive is what we like to we use the term positive, but just have a attraction to it on that capacity where you want to keep it, the keep it capacity. And then there are other things that you look at and you don't even know where it was, so what it was, so you're super indifferent, and the stuff that you know what it was but you don't care to keep it, and that different. So there's that scale of whether you're organized or chaos, and whether or not it stays in. orbit, I guess, um, is kind of what is what we call the past. Now, I think what the reality plane, which is what existence is made of, several different reality planes, since we aren't capable of measuring something, we claim that we can't see it. So since we are unable to see in 3 dimensions, we only see 2 dimensions, we are looking at an action in only possible 2 planes, the way that I describe it. So we are on the time value plane, which is not real, part of reality. It is something that we made up so we could better understand reality. But basically, it's just a measurement. We can call it whatever we want. We've been using space as a contrary, but I don't think it's ever been space. I think it's always been value. It may not be value, but I think value better encompasses it. I think everything only works on 2 planes. So if you are not, you're on a, and I may have these planes wrong, but you're not at 180 degrees from each other, so going exactly the opposite direction. Or when you're traveling through existence, if you're not head on, you're not going to have the singularity. You're not going to have that point at which everything stops and there's an action. The action is whether we're going to move into one system in equilibrium, or we're going to shoot off back into our own systems and be on the lookout for another particle to see us, and then see us and we see them, and for there to be a reaction to me seeing you see me. And then if there's an action, then attraction. There's an attraction, that's where existence starts. Attraction and repulsion, or attraction and absorption. I think we see this I think there's demonstrations of this in all walks of life. Reason why we're having difficult time of understanding the whole situation is because I do think there is 3 phases of life. There's 3 phases of a photon. But there's I think there might be, I don't know what they are, but I feel like there are wave, and particle, and there's a thing that we can't measure at that change. And I think the thing that we can't see, the phase that we can't see, is experience or action, what they're now calling it. There's a physics thing that's action. I think action is a phase, and you're going to have a very difficult time measuring experience of an action when it's smaller than any measuring device that you. Alan Watt used an interesting explanation of experience. I don't remember if it's in the book or if it's in the one I just read. Come on, Audible. By the way, this Andy Weir guy knows his shit about since probably does the wisdom of insecurity. Of experience. He doesn't use it as experience, but think about when you tried to search for a word and you stop thinking about it, and as soon as you forget about the conversation, the name pops into your head. That moment, that process, experience. One I came up with the other day. I was watching The Greatest Showman, and 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 the first song came on like this is everything you ever want, everything you ever need. Um, and I started tearing up and kind of shivering and shaking, like just dropped off uh, the edge of a roller coaster all at the same. Wasn't sad. I wasn't excited. I wasn't anxious. I was just experiencing that particular moment because I could not process the entire moment. Chaos triggered that reaction. All of the emotions are at the same time. That's why the time thing breaks down, is because time isn't real. We're trying to use time to do physics on or um, other science, but time doesn't exist. And at the instant of the action, it is your entire reality is available to look at, but it's always going to be in the past. Your future, even though they're saying that it is not written, it's written for all of the choices that you could possibly make from that position. But if you move one position, the choices are different and the possibilities are different. So um, you're kind of just moving out whenever they're doing experiments. They can't, you can't, the reason why a light is a wave before it is observed is because when it's a wave, it hasn't discovered a purpose yet. And once it's observed, it's identified its purpose, and then it becomes one system. Until that purpose is either achieved or destroyed. And that's why that's kind of the breakdown there. So whenever we're always observing the past and predicting the future, we're always using the past to predict the future based on the information we get. Action is where all of the different dimensions collide. So how do you explain something that you're not aware of? You're aware of, but you are aware that you're inside of it. And that's the conundrum that I'm trying to overcome. I think since as the Tao and most of those Eastern philosophers say, like even your religion say, you can't be told, you kind of have to be shown, right? So the only way that I could think of, so the way that this came to be was my perception of what reality is. Each individual reality is the observer's view, the observer's understanding of an action from the perspective that is looking at their purpose, perceived purpose. So this is just a live brainstorm version. I probably will figure out how to make like a diagram to show what I'm thinking about this. But think about your purpose as being everything is black and white. So everything, no matter what you want it to be, everything is black and white. They have different opacities to them. So white with 50% opacity is going to let a lot of black through. So even though your purpose may be white, because you're not looking directly at it, there's different layers of it in front of you. So you're actually weaving towards black. You may have the colors wrong. That's kind of how I envision it. Is like everything is black and white, and your purpose is like blue or some other color. And if you're not looking directly at your purpose, don't see the true color of your purpose. If that makes sense. You tilt off 1/2 a degree, it may not be the blue, maybe green, something. That's kind of how I think it's how it goes, is like you were constantly moving towards either chaos, unknown, to known or stability. And everything is stable till it's not stable. And the ultimate chaos is stability. So like everything is circulating together. And this kind of applies to everything. The reason why they circle into each other is they're trying to achieve balance. So how do you create an experiment? Show the reaction of, how do you show a particle slowly? It's something so minuscule, an idea so small, and start at the beginning. Document everything. Never going to pretend that I'm smart enough to go, this is how it all kind of fires. Experience that you will never, maybe never, maybe never. The thing that I'm going to have a very difficult time getting across is where it started inside of my head, because I know that in science and math, which wasn't always science and math, it was science. To have science was observing people that were doing the experiencing, people were observing, so of it. Validated what you didn't make your science. I mean, didn't help your science, but I don't think it eliminated. Wasn't as much. Still had a shot. Still be science. Nowadays, like if it doesn't fit math and science, but I think the space between it's math, experience, science. Science is observing, always looking past. We're looking at brains. It makes something else bigger, maybe. If true false statements, like a computer simulation. And that's basically what I try to explain. So the experiment of everything is going to be verbally vomiting out until there's a come home with do it anymore. Yeah, this kind of the so that's the idea in the experiment, is to maybe not so much be able to measure. I'm not going to be able to measure. I guess measurement will be engagement, and but I don't know what we're. There's too many variables to test, so what we're testing is people experiencing whether or not something the only way something can become measurable is if it becomes big enough to be observed. That's the first step of the. And I document the creation, something be big enough to be observed. If I can, then can I make that thing big enough to be observed and create a reaction? And if I can do that, can I make that reaction, the action reaction relationship be stable, or be stable enough to maintain, reach stability? So one day we were smoking by fire pit, and I said to the person I was talking to, it was the second or third time they had complained about something at work or was relevant at the time, and I had offered a solution to the problem because I fully committed to you being able to experience your experience to the level that you need to. You don't get to complain about your experience beyond the third time without at least offering a solution. Maybe not requiring an action to be done, no longer having a pity party. We are now offering constructive criticism to the issue, whatever we should call that. Being solution oriented. So she made she kind of was not unreceptive, but definitely made the face of, like, you know what, fuck you, but I'll stop. And then I said something about something that was going on. I don't want to hear you complain about that again until you offer a solution. That was like 3 years ago. Ever since then, I've read a couple of books, mostly Eastern philosophy books. Read Transcending Consciousness, a very interesting book. I read the book, read a couple of different interpretations of the Tao. I don't know what the title of it is. I read Something of the Insecure by Ellen Watt. A couple other books. I got them on my X page. I don't remember if they went, lost them probably, but reading the books several times and kind of sitting back and sitting still is what you sitting there watching, experiencing the best that I could all of the different sides of what is happening. I think we've reached the point where we need an alternative people to take. So the reason why a system can remain balanced, always going to be two sides, and the group that is going to keep them engaged and together are going to be the sides different. The group that isn't. We've sort of removed the ability to be indifferent in our society, part of society. One of the things of the Tao is that the government should be governing with a. This isn't supposed to say, but government should be the people should be governed with a light touch over, hey, look what we did. So I think this was the intention. This is going to go way off of science. Basically, what I think we should do to show the best way to show the maximum amount of growth for an idea to test, show my hypothesis of the spirit of everything at observable pace. This is the experience the most possible pace with the most possible observable action. Yeah. Explain why. How do you fucking explain a theory of everything? There'll be a lot of chaos, but we'll organize it. It'll be stable. This is this is how it's chaotic coming from my brain to my mouth, and even mouth to your ears, and even more chaotic coming from your ears to your brain. So a whole bunch of chaos organized. But since we're within that three levels, fine. Have to try to explain it. So my hypothesis is to start a political party, DGF party. Don't give a fuck. Funny. It'd be funny. Fun in every aspect we can, but I can appreciate that some offended. It's kind of is whoever jumps on the bandwagon and we go in the direction. So my hypothesis is we start a political party. This party wants to run on a 4-point government system. All decisions are single sourced. You don't have a 9 bill. You have a we should give X to Y, or we need to do A for B, or whatever that is. Should we do it? Yes or no? We would use a blockchain voting app. Would not be anonymous. Your vote would be known. The reason for that is twofold. One, by knowing who wants to vote and who isn't voting is the ultimate form of civil protest that's been taken away. So by people not voting, it shows that this is not really an issue. It doesn't need to be an issue for everybody. It just needs for most people at that particular level. 51% of the people don't say that don't vote for an issue or don't vote and vote no for an issue. This is not an issue for the government. This is an issue for the people who voted yes for it. By knowing who's voting which way has value, because now if somebody in that organized take care of whatever that is being voted on. Now I'm sure you can come up with a bunch of different circumstances why this doesn't work. I would love to hear them. But know that whatever circumstances you have to come up with you have to put it in to the context of the likelihood that it's going to happen. Do there need to be situations for one-off events? Sure, but you don't build the foundation of the house anticipation of what color the drapes are going. You want the base to be solid so that you can support whatever drape you want to put in the house for the period of time that you're in the house. The colors and styles and nuances of that of the system. Go ahead and change it as the pulse of the house or the owners or the people in it as their whims change if they change. So that's kind of what I'm trying to build with this thought experiment idea. So that's my hypothesis of how to show that a any system, so your system will be any single thing that needs to be voted on. Either the indifferent no's, the indifferent people become yes, or the indifferent people stay indifferent or become no's. And that's how it all works. And if there's less than 51% of them are indifferent, then only the votes that are being voted on count, because you don't care enough to vote. Then your voice, that's part of your protest. You protest your voice on yes or no. That's how to motivate people to be not indifferent. Also, the reason why the votes are not private is because it gives the opportunity for the other side to engage and to either get clarity on what the opposing side really opposes, or to have an opportunity to educate you on what they're trying to do. Also, by doing it this way, you no longer need senators or congressmen, House of Representatives. You can literally eliminate that whole branch of government, because all of the decisions will be made by the voting population, since they are single votes, able to be understood by the general population voters, since those are the ones you're making the laws for, and them. And the enforcement of them was also their responsibility. So get rid of the judicial branch as well. So we're a self-governed people governed by ourselves. To be governed by this group, you need to be engaged in the group. So that's kind of the system that I see needs to be created, so we can show that a system works and evolves. And it either reaches equilibrium and becomes a rule, or it becomes a non-issue, and everybody goes on their way. It doesn't become is their own individual things to create other chaos, or to enjoy just floating around doing their purpose. Yeah. There's obviously many more things that we do with this, but basically my way to fix things, because I can't complain about created a system within a system, or a new alternative to the system that will work with the current system. The way that you need to see that being done is, one, creating a political party. This is the observer of this. This will be inside of the existing system and observing the alternative system. Sorry, I'm trying to use the right words because I don't do this to be said correctly, interpreted. So yeah, the alternative system, for the alternative system to be successful, it does need three entities. think the first one is going to be the people, then the businesses, and then the money. I think you need those three things working together. So the people will decide the rules. Businesses is how the alternative solution will be able to be self-sufficient outside of the existing system. And the money is really just a value thing. I, we need to change the value system that we have. How money is contemplated and used. As I said earlier, we have been using time and space as opposites, and that's been pretty consistent across everything, but that's not actually what interacts with time. Time is value. We exchange all of our time. We perceive to get the most value or what we perceive to be our purpose. I think if we started realizing that we should have all of our action, all of our reaction should be to achieve whatever it is that we purpose, then we really wouldn't care so much about time. I also wouldn't care so much about short-term results, or maybe even results at all. Perspective of everything would change. Living more in line with reactions to get to purpose rather than value to get to time. So that brings me to why I'm doing this. In this whole process, I have changed perspective on a lot of things. I do appreciate time and value or more art in a way that I exchange the maximum value for time. um, so I did spend a lot of time wondering what my purpose would be, and and it came from playing pickleball. Used to play every day for 4 or 5 hours a day. How you can do this all the time, and because I have a rich girlfriend, that jokingly, if true, life doesn't. My life didn't change because of dating my girlfriend. I was very does, and I would still do the same things, but telling people if I'm capable of living out a car, people don't fathom. Unmotivated isn't the right term. I'm motivated to right world. Motivated for type of. I got to like a bunch of the people that I got to engage with at pickleball jobs or kids that were saying how whole bunch of other things, but they have all of these. So I came to the conclusion that my purpose, effective, is going to get as many people can live. Some of you are going to balk at that statement because you think having a rich living like you have a rich girlfriend rainbows. I will tell you that it is not. I'll tell you it does require a certain amount of reaction, change of value. More difficult than being breadwinner, have money, go for it because money is what we think is valuable, even though the action we're providing probably has more value than some. See any family with a newborn have to make the decision of whether or not that they need to go back to work or not. Or just reality of the situation is a lot of the times woman's job is not significantly more than caregiver would cost for daycare. So the person stays home. We'll get into that tomorrow, I think. I'll just ramble on tomorrow. Boy, bro. No action without a reaction. So